Welcome to the third advanced tutorial in our Photoshop series. We'll be talking about the hue and saturation layer, which works similar to our other layer and adjustment tutorials. Here I have my own image open from before. To set up a hue and saturation layer, just like before, we'll go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. Then put a new hue and saturation layer down on top of the original image. So with hue and saturation, we can see that we can adjust the layer's colors, hue, the saturation, how deep the colors are, or how light they are, to grayscale, or lightness, how dark or light in general the image is. In an image, you can make the colors much more vibrant by sliding the saturation more to the right than usual. Here we can see our copy image stand out much more visually. And if we change the hue towards more of a red spectrum, we can get the copy image to be very strong in color indeed. Use the lightness slider to make sure that things aren't too bright, as extremely vibrant color can be akin to looking into the sun for some viewers of your images. That's all for this tutorial, as you can change images you see fit to make them pop. Welcome to our next tutorial in GIMP. Now, in our previous tutorials of GIMP, you may have asked yourself, how do I install those scripts, plugins, and brushes that I see on the internet for GIMP? For example, we actually had a filter earlier that we used called the Advanced Tone Mapping, and we actually had to install that into our GIMP plugins folder, and the Wavelet Denoise we also had to install. So how do you do that? Well, once you find the plugin of your choice, for example, when we had to get Wavelet Denoise, you can go into your folders for GIMP, usually under Program Files, GIMP 2, and then you'll see the different folders you have for GIMP. If you go into the lib folder, then go into GIMP, then go to 2.0 or whatever the version is, you will find the Plugins folder. And this is the folder you will want to bring any plugins that are exe files that GIMP uses as extra plugins for its program. As you can see here, the Wavelet Denoise program is where we put that plugin. For other different things you want to put in your GIMP program, you go to the Share folder, the GIMP folder inside there, the version folder inside there, and then you can see that there are brushes folders, scripts folders, and various other folders you can bring extra things into GIMP to use for your projects. So if you have a script, for example, the Advanced Tone Mapping script, this is where it goes inside your GIMP program. And once you've put those files into the correct folders you need to put them in, all you have to do is restart your GIMP, and you're ready to use your scripts, plugins, and brushes. Welcome to the next tutorial in our Photoshop series. We're going to go over a way to create a quick lomography effect. And a lomography effect is a type of effect that you might see on Instagram photos or other types of photos that make it look kind of a hipster-like or retro look. Now, it's very easy to create this look. It's actually extremely fast to create this look in Photoshop. All you have to do is open up a photo. You can see, for example, I have a photo right here. You want to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and Curves. And we're going to make a new Curves layer here. Now, I'm going to make the Curves layer called the lomography effect, which we'll go ahead and type that in. And you can see we've got a nice little layer that goes over our background. It also has its own layer, so that way we won't have to worry about making the effect on the image and not having it affect the image permanently. So the way we start this effect is we go through and check out the curves. So we've got the histogram here, and we want to start out by actually putting a point here and dragging it down a little bit, which you see will actually drag down some of the shadows in the image. And then you want to put a little point up here and drag that one up, which will actually drag in some more of the light into the image. Then we'll go into the red, and we'll actually put a little point there, drag that down a little bit so we can get some more in there. But we actually want to drag the shadows up a little bit so we can get some more darkness, depth to the image. We also want to drag up the end here as well and go to the green and do the same thing. Drag up a little bit there, drag down a little bit at the top. And then when we get to the blue, we'll actually do this a little bit different. We actually want to drag up on the previous one, and we actually want to drag down at the top here, which will actually add a lot of different blues to the image there. So if we go back to the original RGB, we can actually pull up the shadows a bit because we want to create that kind of soft tone in the shadows as well. And by doing that, that allows us to create a great lomography effect. It's actually kind of overdone here. It's a little bit too much on the image. So if we go to the opacity, and when you turn the opacity down to maybe about like 50, 55, you can see that it has put itself over the image, and you can see a nice effect on your image that gives it kind of a hipster or retro look. And you can turn on and off the layer to see the difference in the image as we put the Lomo effect on. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Welcome to our next tutorial in GIMP. We'll go over more tools that have been used in GIMP to create different effects in your image. The tools we'll go over for this part of our tutorial will include the clone tool, the healing tool, the perspective clone tool, the blur and sharpen tool, the smudge tool, and the dodge and burn tool. Starting out with the clone tool, if you go to our image that you see here, it will not let you do anything with the brush until you hold down Control, click a source on the image, and then it'll use that source when you decide to paint on your image, thus duplicating the image as you paint over it. The next tool, the healing tool, allows you to heal parts of the image much like in Photoshop when you want to fix parts of your image that have blemishes on them or other various problems. Much like the clone tool, you have to set a part of the image that you would like to use as the basis for healing the rest of the image. And as we start moving through our image, it'll try to heal the image based on what's around it, as opposed to the previous clone part where it just copied whatever it was using the source as. For the perspective clone tool, we can modify the perspective of our image, not in a permanent way, but in a way that GIMP will use when we decide to clone the rest of the image later. By going to the perspective clone option in the tool options, we can now set a source that we'd like to clone from, say this corner up here where the perspective will be changed, and we can paint that into our image. And as you can see, the perspective of the image in the upper left is now in our bottom right at a very different perspective. The next tool, blur and sharpen tool, we can set to blur. And then on our image, we can start blurring out parts of the image as we need to. And then if you set that to sharpen, you can sharpen parts of the image as you need to. You can turn up the rate on this to increase the sharpen amount, so that way you do not have to sharpen more than once on an image. If you go to the smudge tool, this will use the colors around it and smudge them together so they become more of a blur with all the colors that are included when you start smudging. The next tool, the dodge and burn tool, allows you to dodge, which is lighten up the colors in an image, but also do burn, which allows you to darken the colors in the image, creating more vibrant color as necessary. And those are some of the more advanced tools you will use in GIMP. Welcome to the next in our advanced tutorial series in GIMP. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to remove noise from photos where pictures have been taken that have a lot of noise in them. And here you'll see we have started with a picture that has a bunch of noise in it, and we're going to remove the noise, and we can do this in many different ways, including going to the filter option, blur, we can do a regular blur, or we can do a Gaussian blur. And a lot of people like to use these blurs to get rid of the noise in the image. However, there is a better tool to get rid of the noise in images. It is an extra GIMP plugin that you can go find. Once you download that and put it into your GIMP program, you'll see it under your Enhance filter options, and it's called Wavelet Denoise. And Wavelet Denoise will allow you to bring up this dialog box that produces a better algorithm to remove the noise from your images. And when you go into it, you can see a preview of the image and the noise that will get reduced. So you can move around and find where most of the noise is coming from. And then you can go down to the thresholds and you can turn up the amount of noise being removed from the image. And you can decide whether or not you want to have more or less detail left in the image. And you can also change how much detail can be conserved when you start applying the denoise filter to the image. And then you hit OK, and you can see that it has reduced a lot of the noise in the image, and you can tweak this as you like. And there are many other different ways you can do this, but this is probably one of the best ways to remove noise from an image to make it look a little bit better to your clients or to any projects you might have in the future. And that is a quick way of how to remove extra kinds of film grain or noise in your images in GIMP. Welcome to our next Photoshop tutorial. This time we'll be doing a great fire text effect. This can create a great illusion of text that looks like it's either made of fire or on fire. We've already started with a great fire effect image we'll use later in the tutorial. We'll proceed by opening a new file, making the height 1280 and the width 720. Change the background to black by using the Paint Bucket tool, and make sure the foreground color is black. Use the Text tool next, and a great tall font. I'll type the word fire here so we can see the effect on it later. Let's go to the blending options on our layer and add an outer glow. Change the color in the box here to F70300, then hit OK. Select the satin blending next and change that color to 872D0F, and hit OK as well. Change the opacity on the satin effect to 100%. Change the distance to 10 pixels, then hit OK. Now select Inner Glow. Change the blend mode to color dodge here. Next, change the color to E5C23B, then hit OK. Change the opacity to 100%, the size to 10 pixels, then hit OK. Now we're done with our text, so hit right-click on the text layer and rasterize our type. Now we're going to fade out the top of our fire text. So use the eraser tool and set the brush to 250 pixels with 0 hardness. Erase some of the text as you see here. Now we'll go up to Filter, Distort, then Zigzag. Set the amount to 4 and the ridges to 4. Make sure the style is set to Pond Ripples and hit OK. Now we'll select our fire image we've opened and copy that into our text image we're working on. Position the fire image over our text. Then we'll switch over to the Channels tab here next to our layers. Hold Ctrl and click the green layer to load a selection of the areas of fire in our image. Head back to the Layers tab, then press Ctrl J to make a copy of the selection we got from the Channels tab. Delete our original fire layer. Here I'll rename the layer Fire Main to stay organized. We'll move the fire around to wherever we like in the image. From here, we'll resize the image to fit over our text, then duplicate the layers so we can make more fire effect on our text. Be sure to resize, rotate, and erase edges of the fire around the text so it looks like the text is on fire realistically. And that's how you do this effect. Welcome to our advanced GIMP tutorial where we'll actually show you a way how to do digital black and white conversion. It's quite an easy effect to do. And we'll start by opening up an image that you might have seen before on a previous tutorial. We'll open that up and we'll show you how we'll be able to do the conversion here. Now, you can do a saturate effect in GIMP as well, but what I like to do is create a new layer. So we'll go over here and we'll go ahead and make a new layer. We'll make that transparent, that's fine. And from there, we'll also create a layer mask. So go ahead and add a layer mask to this layer. Make sure that it's set to white so it's full opacity. And you want to change this layer's mode to saturation. And by changing this layer's mode to saturation, you'll be able to change the opacity on the saturation on the layer. To get the saturation on the layer, you'll go over to the bucket tool and you will put in black on the actual layer itself. And this will create desaturation of the layer. And you'll be able to see the entire layer is in black and white. Now, you can set the opacity on this so the effect is not that dramatic. So you can have some color, you can have less color, all the way up to 100%. So you can change this as you will, instead of just using the saturation effect, which will be one time only. You can use this to great effect to choose the granular control over the black and white conversion effect. Now, what you can also do is with this and having the mask, you can go to the original layer itself, use the scissors tool, and you can pick out parts of the image you want to have in color itself. So if you see here, I have picked out some of the glasses to be in color, and the scissors tool is one of the best tools for this as it tries to find the edges of the glasses on our background layer here. And of course, you could drag each point to make sure it tries to find all of the different parts of the glasses, and then we'll go ahead and click inside to select it. And if we do that and then go back to our layer mask for our saturation layer, we can go in there and we can select the brush tool, make sure it's set to black because we're going to be painting on the layer mask so we can make the color shine through. And you can just start painting in those glasses there and make those glasses show up in actual color compared to the rest of the image. And that's just a very quick way of how to do digital black and white conversion in GIMP. Welcome to our fourth tutorial in our advanced series. This time, we're going to go with a more exercise-focused approach to help you get more acquainted with what a client wants and needs for their projects. Today's exercise: creating web banner ads for a client. There are many sizes that a client needs for their projects, and when doing web banner ads, you may need to do all or some of them. We'll go over the industry standards so that way you can make the banners needed for your projects. The first size we'll go over is the large leaderboard. It's 970 by 90 pixels. To start, we'll create a new image, and then we'll set the width to 970 and the height to 90. That'll give us the dimensions of the image that we want. We'll create a simple white background here. Then apply a quick text add. Make sure your text is in black so it shows up on the background. Write 10 apples for $3.99. To center the text on the banner, go to Select All, then hit the Center Layer option just below the main menu here. From there, add an image of an apple. Here I've added a quick image of an apple I found on the net to both sides of the banner to give it more of a friendly look. And if we were to be finished here, this would be the first type of ad we would have to create for our client. Next, let's create a half-page ad, which is a 300 pixel by 600 pixel version. First, save our image as a PSD. Now, change our image to a 300 by 600 canvas. Go to Image, Canvas Size, and change the inches drop-down to pixels. Here, type in 300 width, 600 height. You'll notice our apples and text is now strangely off screen, and our background isn't fully white. We'll fix all of that and show you how to continue to make other sizes of ads. If you notice, the Apple images aren't exactly gone. They're just off screen to the image's canvas. Let's bring those apples back to the top and bottoms of our image now. Then, let's use the paint bucket icon on the left and fill in our white background again. Remember to click the correct layer, which should be the first layer in your order. If it helps, name your layers so that you can remember which is which. Now that we have our white background again, what about our text? For that, let us change the spacing by pressing Enter on certain parts of the text. Here at Apples should do it. Move the text onto the canvas. And resize the text as necessary. For vertical text, I like to use centered text under the Paragraph tab of the font properties for a more pleasing aesthetic. And there you have it. We have a new ad that can save as a separate PNG or JPEG from our original Apple ad. From here, we can create all the rest of the industry standard ad sizes: 160 by 600, 120 by 600, 336 by 280, 300 by 250, 728 by 90, 468 by 60, 200 by 200, and 250 by 250. See if you can make Apple ads for each one of them. Welcome to the next tutorial in GIMP. This is a very quick tutorial, part 1, about changing background color in GIMP. It's actually a very quick way to do this in GIMP, especially if you have an image that already has a background color you'd like to remove. So, the fastest way to change the color in your background is go up to Colors, Color to Alpha, and then you will see that there will be a color picker that you can pick down here, a little drop-down box from blank color to alpha, and then you can click on this little eyedropper here, click on the image, then go back to your color picker, press OK, and you'll see on the preview that it has removed the color from your background. Click OK there. The color will have been removed from your background. You may now add a new layer to your image. Make sure to have it as a transparent layer. Drag that layer beneath your current layer, which you removed your color by putting it into alpha. And then you can use the bucket fill tool to switch to any other color you'd like to add to your image. And that is the very basics about changing a background color in GIMP.